Howdy, fuckers, and welcome to the Western Grunge Tapedeck. This week's episode is brought to you by Bad Decisions as always, Ice Cold Miller Lite, and the Carson Jeffrey Band. We're joined here today by the bass player for the Carson Jeffrey Band, Rob, the Slappa White. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing just fine. How are y'all doing?
Doing pretty good, sir.
Oh, another day in paradise.
Making the best of every moment.
That's exactly right.
Oh, food. So the first thing I want to start us out with talking about was one of my favorite things when seeing you guys live, and it's your little intro that you guys do. The intros are becoming a more popular, more bigger thing in country music, and yours, guys, is by far one of the best. I mean, it comes out and it's brought to you by Blue Chew, Horny Latino Women, Tequila, and Miller Lite. This is the goat roping champion. It's so cool. You guys come out to it. You play Texas by Big X the Plug. It's got to be one of the hardest walkouts ever. Morgan's doesn't stand a chance. But where did that come from, and where was the idea from?
So basically, obviously we're a very rodeo-inspired band, right? So there's a lot of that kind of influence. Carson's a team roper, half roper, right? So one big thing was, I guess one day our guitar player at the time, Ryan, and Chase got together and decided to, just in a little studio time just down, they recorded it. So Chase, our former drummer, he was doing the vocals, basically doing the intro for it. And we're all still good buddies. There's a lot of story there, but yeah, he goes in and records this intro for us, and was just basically doing it on the premise of I'm a rodeo announcer and I'm trying to hype up this guy, right? And yeah, he had a lot of fun with it, and we actually recorded multiple versions where it's like that same section, but a song at the back. So we would do, obviously, I'm from Texas. We've done a few others like The Stroke and trophies and stuff like that. So we'll shake it up depending on like what the vibe of the night is, right? So we play more, something that's a little bit more family friendly in certain cases. Whereas if we're playing a college bar, screw it, let's just go for it.
Hell yeah, I love it.
Right on. It was awesome. It was like I was not expecting it the first time, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome! I'm hyped, man."
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm wondering, whenever you started out music and was like, "Hey, I want to play music," did you start off with like playing the bass? Was that in your mind from the very beginning, or what kind of came of that?
So honestly, my musical journey goes pretty deep. I mean, I grew up in a family that was really, really deeply ingrained in music from a very young age. We were listening to obviously a lot of church stuff, of course. I was very involved with my choir back home, and then eventually marching band and stuff like that. But I mean, my dad made me listen to just all this old good classic rock. We were listening to Boston and Rush and bands like that for years, and that was always like big influence for me, especially a band like Rush, where bass is so prevalent. It's like, those things are really neat. But I had never really been in the head space to be a bass player until I was a sophomore in high school. My youth praise team needed a bass player, and they said, "Hey, would somebody be willing to learn?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" Nobody else was stepping forward, so I said, "I'll do it." Already had a background in singing, so I was like, it's like I play bass, I play saxophone. What's the difference? We'll figure it out. At which point I started playing that. And then really what was funny for me was my introduction to Texas country. So not sure if any of y'all know, I'm originally from New Mexico myself. So the influence of Texas country is not prevalent there. Literally my country music exposure was just pretty much guys in the 90s. So, Garth Brooks, George Strait, of course, Alan Jackson, Toby Keith, guys like that. But I got introduced to Texas country because our graduation song that year was So Close Now by Eli Young Band. And so Eli Young Band ended up being my first little taste of what was coming when I was moving to Texas. So I moved down to Texas for college, go to A&M, right? And I graduated, 4 years, and spent many, many Friday nights over at Hurricane Harry's watching the lights. And mind you, this was right after Ragweed was kind of ending, and obviously now they're back, but this is when they were ending, so everybody was flipping out, right? And they were kind of losing it about the whole ragweed situation. Well, that spring, all of a sudden you had Firewater from Whiskey Myers coming out, you had Diamonds of Gasoline from Turnpike coming out, you had She's Like Texas from Josh Abbott band, Cody Johnson was starting to grow. I mean, that was my freshman year of college. I got to experience all of those guys when they were like nothing growing. It was a really, really cool experience to go to see shows of the Hurricane Harry's, the Tap, other spots around the area. It was really neat for me, and it was a good goal for something that I wanted to do eventually in the future. And I will fully admit that I was a little slow to the game getting into playing. I didn't start playing really more of these bigger shows and things outside of church gigs until about 2017. And I got invited to a song swap with a buddy of mine named Garrett Smith. And he's a local artist from the area. And he actually went to Chicken Oil Company, the sister building to the Dixie Chicken. They were doing a open mic night, and I got invited out to play at that. Eventually got called up for a bass gig, and then 7-8 years later, here I am.
Hell yeah. The older I've gotten and kind of dug into a lot more music and stuff, it's crazy the amount of talent that has came from College Station area, A&M, and then still right now there's a bunch of people just grinding it out.
Right. I would definitely say. And then I would honestly sprinkle in a little bit of San Marcos there too, just because honestly, Cheatham Street Warehouse is one of the all-time greats. I mean, owned by Randy Rogers, and I cannot tell you how many great names have come through that building. So yeah, it's one of those really, really impressive things of these small little college towns in Texas, and they just keep firing out really, really great artists.
Yeah, right now you got like Hudson Westbrook that's, he's blowing up. Logan Ryan, I'm not really sure where he's from, but I'd really like to see him get a lot more. He's there. He's got the songs. I mean, he's a great writer. But yeah, you're right. I mean, these Texas college towns in general seem to be putting out a lot of great guys right now.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Logan Ryan. So he opened for us a couple of times. He opened recently for us at Green Hall when we sold it out. And then also opened for us at Flores Country Store, which is obviously one of the greats out there in Helotes. Really, honestly, a great band there, and I'm glad to see that they're getting some good exposure.
Mm-hmm. And you guys were at Kane's Ballroom over the summer opening up for Corey Kent on a 2-night stint, I believe. I didn't get to make it down there for that, but I saw that.
Yeah, that was a fun show. So that was one of our first out-of-town runs with our new drummer. So we picked up Mason Waller. He was playing with Gracie York for quite a while, and we love Gracie, and she's a phenomenal artist. But she had taken off several shows there to do more acoustic stuff. We picked up Mason, and he's done a phenomenal job for us. But yeah, we go and play these 2 shows back-to-back nights at Kane's with Corey. And those were absolute blast, complete sold out crowd both nights. And they put on a lot of good energy for us, which was great. People were singing along to our songs, which is always nice whenever it's a headlining show that's not yours. But I think the coolest part of the night was we walked in the first day and we look around and it's like, there's all this extra production. Like they got cameras set up on stage. You got this crazy light rig and all this other stuff. And I'm like, are they doing a live record tonight? Like, what's going on? Like, it makes sense. You're doing back-to-back nights. Are they doing a live record? I talked to Carson. He said, I found out like 15 minutes ago. We were like, oh, crap. We better put it on them.
Which y'all have a live record coming out hopefully soon. I know you guys recorded one not too long ago.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything on that? Or?
Yeah, no, that was a really cool experience for us. So we played at Cat Spring Hall, which is about a mile down the road from Carson's house. It's one of these old German style dance halls that were built all across kind of South Central Texas back in the day, because a lot of the immigrants that were moving into Texas were German, and so it was common to have these type of places in Belleville, Cat Spring, all those little German settlements. But we played inside of Cat Spring Hall. Did have Tyler Halverson kick it off for us for the live record, which was great. And Tyler's great. He's a phenomenal guy too. I said, like, probably the coolest part about that particular building, actually, I can show y'all here. Give me 2 seconds. So this is probably one of the rarest records I own, and it's going to Carson for a gift, but it's called No Kind of Dancer by Robert Earl Keen. It was his very first record that he ever put out. And what's really cool is the cover there, that's taken inside of Cat Spring Hall. The band's sitting up there on the stage. And then there's a really sick
Okay.
illustration of the building on the back of the album art. So it was one of those things that, like, that song, which we covered for the live record because we had to, and just for us, it was a very, very special night. Just because Robert Earl Keen is one of our favorites and one of my personal favorite songwriters of all time. So being able to play in that building and do a live record and kind of keep it in the spirit of that, with doing our own stuff, that was really cool. Live album probably coming out sometime next year. And we do have another record coming in the meantime. I'm not sure what the order on that's going to be yet, but we're playing around with some ideas on that. There's a lot of stuff up in the air right now.
That's
So you
awesome.
guys have released three great singles this year. You had Marbles at Midnight, Why in the World, and then Rope the Moon.
Yeah, and we also
Which
had
were three just awesome
yeah,
singles.
thank you very much. Yeah, we also had one additional single at the beginning there in January, which was Mrs. Lonely. So we've had four singles on the year so far, right? And the four singles have all been a lot of fun for us. We've enjoyed getting to play them, and the reception's been great from people. They like the direction we're starting to glean. It's certainly a little more in the vein of, like, we're trying to really settle in our Texas country roots on these on where we're at right now, right? Because you have so many different bands out there. There's a lot of experimentation going on, right? There's a lot of different people trying to do, because at the end of the day, I think the most important thing you can do as an artist is be a little experimental. You got to play around with your sound a bit, because if you are, let's say Ragweed just did Soul Gravy and then did Soul Gravy again, nothing changes, right? You want to see some growth out of the band, and you want to see the direction that they're moving. So, with the new record, we're really excited. One single of the first four will be on the new record. That's going to be "Rope the Moon." That's the first lead single for the record. But the other three standalones, yeah, those were a lot of fun to do, especially Marlboros at Midnight. That's probably one of my personal favorite songs we've ever put together, just because it's a nice steel feature. It's a fun waltz. And honestly, putting together the music video for it was a lot of fun, too.
Which that perfectly leads into my next one. What's your favorite song probably to play live?
Ooh, favorite song to play live. Really, I've got a couple that I really, really enjoy getting to play. I love playing Buzz Brain when we get a chance to play that song, just because it's got a fun little riff in it that we were able to put together when we recorded up in Nashville for that particular song. I would say between that and, honestly, Loner are probably two of my favorite songs that we have. But that being said, I'd say if we're talking like crowd energy, it's hard to beat Tall Boy, right? Crowd gets lit for Tall Boy. That's a fun song for us.
On Marbles on Midnight, if I remember correctly, and I could be completely wrong, but you did the artwork for it that's up on Spotify. Is that something you do a lot of? You do a lot of artwork? Was this like a one-off thing? Like what's the art career looking like?
So I've actually been I've always been very, very interested in art, especially when it comes to, like, posters and album art and stuff like that, and logo design, things along those lines. I've actually been doing all the album art for each of the songs that we've put out so far this year, as well as our upcoming record, and as well as the live record too. So I've done the album art for all of those. It's been fun getting to put those things together and just kind of talk with Carson about, okay, what can we do with the vision here? What can we do to play around with kind of setting the mood on each of these singles, as well as what we're getting ready to do. So with the next record, we put out the first three. With Rope the Moon, if you can visualize it, the Rope the Moon album art is going to be very indicative of what happens to the rest of them for the record, because they're all going to be in that same style, because we're trying to do this storytelling element, trying to make it look like a book, right? Is a lot of what this next record is going to be is storytelling songs, which is, I personally think, is at the forefront of what Texas country music is at its roots. I mean, you look at like guys like Jerry Jeff Walker, one of my all-time favorites. You look at Charlie Robeson, you look at Robert Earl Kane, Ray Wiley Hubbard, any of these cats, right? They are storytellers. And that's the road that we're trying to take this album down. And that's the spirit we want to keep.
I love that. So who would be on your Texas country or just country music in general Mount Rushmore?
Country music Mount Rushmore. That is so tough because I've had this discussion with a few different people. I feel like I almost sectioned it out normally. I'll be like, all right, who are kind of like my 90s guys? Who are my red dirt guys? Who are my – but, I mean, it's so hard. You got to sexualize them. Yeah, I mean, sectionalize them. Man, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's like I always have to envision the actual Mount Rushmore, right? And you got George Washington, who was the first, right? And then you've got so and so that was a big influence, and then you got Teddy, who was a big influence, and then yada yada yada. So, like, I mean, you got to put Bob Wills on there, right? It's like Bob Wills is the king.
He's still the king of Texas.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard because I would say probably him. I got to say George Jones. I got to say George Strait. I would say those three for sure. And man, for that fourth one, it's always tough. But I might have to go Merle Haggard. I would say those are probably my four. And I only section out like Willie and Johnny Cash and that just because it did have a little bit of a different flavor away from like what I think of like traditional country music. Like they have their outlaw thing for sure. And Merle to an extent, absolutely. But I would say if I'm going to have to list out the four, those are probably mine.
So I'm going to be real honest. For a long time, like I never listened to Bob Wills. It's just not something that was in my wheelhouse. But I was at a record store in Tulsa and I found this Bob Wills live recordings or like live radio recordings. It was $2. Yeah. And I was like, all right, it's a double LP, $2. I'm going to get it. It sat on my shelf for about 6 months. And finally one night, I was like, I'm going to listen to it. I was completely blown away. What him and his band were able to do and the sound that they were able to make through the radio. Like, these were just straight radio recordings. Mind-boggling. The man was way above his time. And absolutely, I can understand the whole Bob Wills is still a king sentiment towards him. Absolutely. And, Kane's Ballroom, home of Bob Wills, I got... When you get into him, you get a lot more respect for not everything he did, but like the fact that he's the king of Canes, like that's his place. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because that was great. I feel like a lot of people just never give Bob Wills the chance because it's kind of seems outdated and it's beautiful music.
It's the same deal with maybe a lot of the younger folks that maybe don't necessarily aren't as in tune with like some of the Texas country guys that were really getting everything kind of going, or even the red dirt guys, like Mike McClure. A lot of people don't know Mike McClure, the Great Divide. They don't listen to that music. They don't listen to Jerry Jeff. They don't listen to Gary P. Nunn. They don't listen to those guys, but they've been around it. And it's kind of subconscious for them because it's like you've heard that sound, but you just didn't know it was them. Because it has been so influenced by bands that came past it, right? Because every single band, you can pull something from an influence, right? So if you look at a band like let's take Treaty Oak Revival as an example, right? Treaty Oak is huge; they're incredible. Everybody knows that. Treaty Oak probably doesn't get their big start without what Co Wetzel did, right? And then Co Wetzel doesn't get his big start without what Ragweed did, and Ragweed doesn't get their big start with what Mike McClure did, right? It always tracks back to somebody, and that's been music forever.
Right.
Right.
That's one of my biggest.
It's always the deal, like
pet peeves with music and just how the normal person is and listeners is. They'll sit there and listen to Ragweed. Oh, I love it. Oh, this band was influenced by them. Okay, let me go check them out, and then they keep going forward. But I feel like a lot of people stop at Ragweed. And Mike McClure gets left out and falling out, and watching all the videos that Cody Canada has put out and everything. Everything is Mike McClure this, Mike McClure that. This could not be possible without Mike McClure. And it's when are people gonna catch on and actually listen to who influenced your favorite bands type thing. Love it.
feel like a lot that has to do with that
Which
too is like the fact that streaming is a thing nowadays, which makes music way more accessible.
mhm.
True. That is very true.
How insane is it that they sold over 180,000 tickets for a full? I mean, it's a 4 night stand, but that is insane, especially coming from like from the rumblings. Like they didn't even expect to sell out one show. Like they didn't expect people to care that much, and then to sell out 4 nights. And I say a lot of it's the streaming, like what we were just talking about, is that you're able to get introduced to these bands and you can find them. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole. I mean, that's how I found Turnpike back in 2017, was just going down a rabbit hole, and then all of a sudden this guy comes on singing about long hot summer days, and then it's gin smoke and lies, and I was like, this is it. Somebody gets me,
It's very impressive. I mean,
but
it's
yeah.
very, very impressive what they were able to pull off with that ticket sale. No question.
You gonna be there?
Unfortunately, no. We actually already have a gig booked for that week. I know it's like way the heck out, but yeah, we're playing over at I guess it's like the Galveston County Fair, which is on a Friday. So we know for sure that rest of that weekend's gonna get booked out. So I put it out of my head like, we'll catch them if they go on tour.
It was so funny seeing all the artists.
Don't worry, there'll be videos everywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
It was funny seeing all the artists like, I don't care if I got a gig booked for this week and I'm canceling it. I'm gonna fucking be there. Blah blah blah. I'm like, this is what the world needed, was a ragweed reunion shows.
Let's see. I love that. I love the fact they're getting back together. Absolutely. I think that's a really cool deal. I don't know if it's just going to be for this stand or if they're going to go on tour. Having played a few times with Cody Canada and The Departed, doing the separate band, and having spent time getting to meet up and chat with Cody. I mean, it's so cool that they've had the rights to the music for a while. So they basically just have been playing a ragweed show with a sprinkling of additional songs in from obviously Cody Canada and The Departed. But it's been really cool to see the response and being able to see Cody hop on his little Instagram lives and being like, I don't even know. I'm just so blown away by y'all. And I mean, it's cool. And it's cool to see that younger folks are getting into the music. And I wish some of the older folks would do themselves a favor, hit the pause button, and let's maybe stop the gatekeeping for about 5 minutes. Because I mean, this happened like several years ago with Stranger Things, right? You get a Master of Puppets featured on Stranger Things, and Metallica, all of a sudden, like that song is shooting to the top of the charts again, and people are like, the old school metalheads are like, no, that's my music. You can't enjoy this music. Meanwhile, Metallica comes out on the other side and says, our music's open to everybody. We just want to have people at the party, and I think that's the way it should be. I mean, yeah, you didn't grow up with that music, but you can still love it and enjoy it and appreciate it, even if you didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
I think gatekeeping music is the dumbest thing ever, because you like walling people off of something that you like, and that puts a disadvantage to your favorite artist as well. It's like it's a dumb concept, and I never understood it.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But
yeah, it's like Tracer and I talked about a lot. It's like, oh, sorry, I was 5 years old and I couldn't get into the Wormy Dog for a ragweed concert. My fucking bad. I'll make sure to change that in my next life. But
sorry, I'm not worrying about a mortgage right now.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
And then I think it was who was it? Grady Cross, I think, came out in that 10-minute video that they did, just thanking everybody. And what he said there at the end, it almost even brought a tear to my eye this morning before work. He was like, I just want to thank y'all, thank this person for just getting me and my friends back together. And I was like, it's like just melts my little heart.
It is a special thing to see that happen. And that's been such a cool deal in music recently. Like, we've seen that across several bands getting back together across all different genres. I mean, I just went to go see Creed last month. Let me tell you something, brother. That was a special moment.
Hell yeah.
I've been waiting on that show for 15 years. That was awesome.
Well, it kind of started with Turnpike getting back together.
Right.
A lady was a lady that I kind of know. We're like friends, Facebook friends. I was at her house working on her dryer today, and she's like, "Did you get your tickets?" I said, "Yeah." And she was telling me she's excited for like seeing Turnpike for the first time as two, along with Ragweed. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen them 6 times since they got back together." And she just looked at me straight up like I was crazy. And she's like, 6 times? I was like, yeah, and I'll probably see him 10 by the end of next year, if everything goes right. And she just could not grasp the concept of like seeing a band that many times.
Well,
But
that is a really cool thing to
um
see amongst fans, right? I mean, we've had people.
mhm,
I mean, we have a crew that anytime we're in Oklahoma, it doesn't matter where we are in Oklahoma, we see them. Like it's cool to see those happen. Like anytime we're in certain areas, those people are there, and sometimes they'll even like, God bless Roberta from Lubbock up there, because she's Red Dirt Rebel up there with JR, the big station out of
mhm.
Lubbock. She's been to 3 of our shows in the San Antonio area this year because she's been dating a guy down there. So she's been like, I'm coming to a Carson Jeffrey concert. And I mean, she is passed out drunk on the front row at floors during Take Away This Pain. And she's like hanging over the rail. And then she goes, oh, and take. We're just
Sounds like she's y'all's number one fan.
oh, she's a big fan. And we appreciate Red Dirt Rebel. I mean, they were the first people to ever put us on the radio with Carson. I mean, that went back. Yeah, I mean, he put Ranch Girl Dream on, and that's what more or less got Carson got him some pull, outside of College Station.
That was definitely the first song I heard when I was still stationed in Virginia. I mean, I grew up in Texas, so have those roots of like Texas country and red dirt. But one of my friends, he actually showed me Ranch Girl Dream, and I was like hooked after that. And I kind of went into the Carson rabbit hole, and I was hooked ever since.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Pretty much the same. Somebody sent me, I don't remember who it was, but somebody sent me Ranch Girl Dream and said, you got to listen to this. And I put it on the TV at home, and YouTube, Ranch Girl Dream. I'm obsessed with this. And I was obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed with it. Every time it comes on, I'm screaming every word to it. But yeah, that's a great one.
I have a funny story for you. So this is from Carson. He was not originally going to put that song on the record. Fun fact. It was a very last minute addition, but yeah, he wrote it basically at a Cody West concert at the Tap, and he was sitting there side stage watching all these girls on the front row because they were all wearing Navajo pearls, turquoise rings, and he wrote it kind of as a joke song. The guy poking at those girls, but guess what? They loved it. And we embraced that because we appreciate the people that, have used it for TikToks and Instagrams, like you kind of show off outfits and stuff. I'm like, that's great. Absolutely. You're appreciating our music and we appreciate y'all showing off for it. That's great.
That's funny. He wrote it kind of side stage because I think a couple months back, maybe it was last month, 2 months ago, we had Gracie York on, and she had brought up that she was, I think they were at Steamboat, and she was sitting there next to Carson, and she's just rambling on, and she's like, I'm sorry, Carson, just don't listen to me. I'm just bitching a bitch. Carson was like, if you don't turn that into a song, I am.
Yeah, she sent us the initial demo not terribly long ago, and like well before it was recorded or anything. And we were just kind of jamming it in the van, driving, wherever we were going one day, and we were like, this has got a good flow. We like this song. So sure enough, when she finally released it, I was like, let's go. About time.
Yep.
It's a great song.
So I promised you we'd talk some college
All right.
football. We're at the kind of the halfway point of the season. I know you're a big A&M guy. Gage is a big A&M guy. Tuck,
Go Pokes.
Oklahoma State.
I like folks.
I'm Kansas State. Go
Okay.
Cats. But who are your Heisman favorites right now? Because that Boise State running back, Austin Genty, is dominating
He
right
has
now.
looked outstanding. You're not wrong. I mean, I haven't really seen much in terms of like, I feel like most of the time we're always focused in on quarterbacks these days because I feel like that's what the Heisman has become.
Mhm.
It's like, all right, who's the best quarterback? It's like,
Mhm.
back in the day, the Heisman used to be like, just without this guy, your team wouldn't be doing what you're doing. Right. And that is exactly what Boise State's guy's been doing. I mean, there's no question. Nobody will argue that one little bit. I would say he's probably my favorite so far.
Same. After watching his highlights, I mean, this morning, like I've known about him, right? But this morning it was really drilled into my head when I was scrolling through TikTok, and he's just back there standing like Michael Myers, and then he just takes off with the ball, and he's just gone. You can't tackle him. He's just he's great. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked great, and frankly, if that's what breaks up the monotony, I'm okay with it. I'm way okay with it.
Mhm.
Who's
It'd be cool to see a smaller school win that.
yeah. Who's one of your favorite all-time college football players?
All-time favorite college football players. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, especially considering when I was in school here. So to kind of lay it out, I was here from 2010 in the fall to the spring of 2014. My junior and senior year had a certain little quarterback who decided that he was going to go off on a tangent, and his name was Johnny fucking Football. And that dude went off. I will say, probably, I mean, just everything about those 2 seasons were incredible because trying to watch him play live, like in person, you're watching him play and you're just asking yourself, okay, what crazy, completely out of pocket thing is he going to do next? Because you had no clue. He was going to either throw it off, for like a deep bomb. He was going to do circles around, hand it off to somebody. We didn't know what he was going to do. And what is he? And he would just find a way out of every situation. He was slippery and yet just outstanding as a football player. I would say he's probably my favorite A&M player of all time, without question. But yeah, I mean, Bo Jackson, just one of the all-time greats, right? I mean, from Auburn, just truly, between him and Herschel Walker, talking like running backs, those 2 guys are just so outstanding as players. As far as defensive guys, I mean, I said I got to go back to the well a little bit and pick a guy from A&M. Dat Wynn was one of my all-time favorites from A&M, and he was outstanding in his role back in the day.
I don't know. Gage, what are yours?
I mean, I was growing up. It was kind of more like Longhorns in my house, and I'm an A&M fan because my best friend goes to a school there. But yeah, horns down nowadays. But I mean, Colt McCoy, loved watching him play.
Oh, yeah.
And who was the wide receiver one over there? Shipley?
Yeah, Jordan Shipley.
Yeah, they were so fun to watch growing up. And then I mean, you can't leave out Manziel.
Oh yeah.
He's one of my biggest kind of like what ifs.
Yeah, especially
coming into football. But I mean, it's almost like Josh Hamilton type of thing of off the field struggles kind of impacted their professional career. But yeah, those would probably be mine that I love to watch.
Great choices.
I gotta go with Deuce Vaughn. I had a couple classes with him when I was at K-State. Okay. Really cool cat. He's gonna get a shot at the Cowboys. He's gonna show people what he can do. But you can't deny how great Johnny Manziel was. Sometimes you just gotta go back and watch those highlights and remember how great Johnny Football really was.
Yeah, I saw those saved.
Go blow a team out, and then you end up at the bar in a Scooby-Doo costume post game.
Yes, sir. It's always fun.
Tuck, what do you got?
For me, I mean, growing up, I didn't really watch a whole lot of college football, but being surrounded by a family that was all A&M and all Tech, Johnny Football was definitely a household name, and we talked about him. And it was he crazy to see the hype, and then he finally made it to the NFL, and it just
yeah, I'm a firm believer that he stayed one additional year and just kind of like reset his head, which I understand why he didn't. But if he did stick around for next year, I think he would have been a lot better for the NFL. I think that would have brought him a little bit further down to earth. At least that's what I've always told myself. But yeah, oh well.
Like Gage said, he's the greatest what if story of all time. I mean, after seeing what he did in college versus what he did in the NFL, which granted, like those are totally different games. I mean, college is a lot different than NFL, but I think he could have made it.
Yeah, I definitely think there was a possibility there.
Another one of my what ifs is Colt McCoy. if his knee that was
Oh.
blown out against Bama, and that it was a national championship, wasn't it?
It was.
Mhm.
I remember watching that game and everybody was, yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of the big questions because that championship is what kind of sparked Bama over the next several years to be that big team, right? So it makes you wonder. I mean, do they win that game with Colt McCoy in? I don't know. But one thing I do know for sure is they would have had a much better shot than they did. So it's just kind of a tough deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was kind of
For sure.
the downfall of his career, sadly.
No doubt.
Well, I mean, he still had a very successful NFL backup
Yeah.
career. You know, you can't dock the guys that, you know, stayed in the league for 12 years, made $30 million and played 18 games. You got to get your bag, brother.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's
yeah.
like
So,
growing up, I was a baseball player, so I was like, hey, let me go be a bullpen catcher. I'll make a couple $100,000 a year. I'll be fine. That didn't last very long. Never got my chance, but man, I would have been the best bullpen catcher out there.
Hey, they still get paid too.
Did you play any sports?
So I
Growing
did.
up?
I played everything growing up. I was one of those kids. I mean, I was playing football. I played baseball, played tennis. I played basketball for like 7 years before I realized that I sucked at basketball. And maybe I should go pick a different sport. I played till I literally played till like 7th grade. I was like, why am I still playing basketball? This is ridiculous. But always been a big baseball guy. Love the game of baseball. Love playing it. Always been around it, especially in my hometown. Like Carlsbad, like I think we're like 12, 13, whatever, however many times state champions in New Mexico. They've always been very consistently good. Put many players in the league over the years. Actually, we have a pitcher in the league right now with the Orioles organization, and we had a World Series champion. A few years ago now. I guess it'd be about 14 years ago. Yeah, he played with the so it's Cody Ross played with the Giants against the Rangers in 2010. So we've had a few of those guys. As far as like my time in high school, I played tennis my first 3 years, and then I was also a marching band guy. That was kind of my two big activities while I was in school. I always enjoyed playing tennis, but it just was a little less in terms of equipment I needed. Plus, it was like, I'm not busy in the spring. It's a sport I enjoy. Let's have fun with it.
Yeah, I never was a big basketball guy. I was a football and baseball guy growing
Yeah.
up. I
had a
was hardly good at those by any means, but I enjoyed being there.
Fair enough.
I had kind of the same realization that you had, Rob. I was playing basketball and I got through middle school and I realized after middle school, like I wasn't very good. So my off season time, I played football a lot. My off season time was a lot of lifting for football.
Fair enough.
So
And so I never played like padded full on contact football. I mean, I think the highest level of that I ever played was flag. But I'll throw the football around with the guys. I'll still run a route or two here and there, do some blocking, whatever they need. But we certainly enjoy that. Our big activity recently with the band, honestly, as far as sport, has been dummy roping quite a bit. So we'll bring the dummy out on the road, and every single one of us is getting to the point where we can. I won't say we're the best roping band on the planet, but I think we're roping better than most.
Yeah. Hey, I'm planning on going up to y'all Stillwater show up in here in the next 2 weeks. I'll bring my rope up.
Hell yeah. Come on with it.
oh. Is everything good? I'm kind of froze up at the moment.
Yeah. I think we're all good.
Okay, cool.
I think we're good.
Good. Oh, you guys froze for a second. I was kind of scared. I was like, no, not again. I went on a 10. We did the Gracie York episode, and like the last 10 minutes, I'm on this 10-second delay from everybody else.
Oh no.
So I was like talking over Gage and like trying to talk. I had no idea what was going on. It was awful. But So, you guys got anything else? Any other questions?
No, just
Well,
super excited to see y'all in Stillwater. I got to see y'all in Oklahoma City. I was on the rail, and I was right in front of you, and that was such a surreal experience. I enjoyed that a lot.
It was at, I guess that was over at Beer City Music Hall.
Yeah, Beer City Music Hall. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great venue. I would say, we've played a few in and around Oklahoma City over the years. We end up out at Grady's 66 several times. We played there, and it's a cool bar to play. Do not get me wrong. Love Grady Cross. Want to go support his business and whatnot. But at the same time, that's a small room,
It
and
is very small.
it's a tight stage. And so, you're up there with a 5-piece trying to rock out, and you're like, I'm just kind of here, guys. I'm like, I'm wireless, I'm like, I'm a wireless bass player, and I'm still like, just kind of piled in there, Meanwhile, Beer City's a lot more open. I like the setup there. I mean, it's not a huge room, but it still has good energy for the size that it is. And I really enjoy getting to play there. Looking forward to getting back out there. I know we're going up to Vanguard once again up there in Tulsa, which is kind of a similar sized room. So we'll be back up there. And then I think that next day, so this was all coming up in November, but that next day we're opening for South Hall down in Broken Bow there at the Hoachtown Saloon. So
Okay.
yeah, we got some fun shows on the horizon in that realm.
If I can make the Tulsa show,
Yeah,
I'll definitely be there. I saw you guys at the Vanguard the last time. That was a great show. That was an awesome show. I had a great time. So
coming into that one too.
I said, yeah, those are
but that was that's how I found
good.
that's how I found Lucas Sosa.
Oh yeah.
He opened up for y'all that night, and that Hold and Smoke song has been on, like, stays in the repeat kind of thing since February when I saw y'all. It's an amazing song. Plug Lucas real quick. Yeah. I don't know if you guys played with him a lot, or
that was
if it's a one-off.
That's
thing.
the one time he's played with us, but we've been trying to do a better job of kind of breaking. Whenever we do have these headlining shows, because we've been headlining a lot. We haven't had a lot of support shows. That's kind of leaning into next year. Hopefully, is the plan. Maybe going out on tour with a bigger name. Everything's kind of in a box. We're not really talking about it yet, but as it stands, the thing that we're looking forward to is, like, whenever we do go out on these runs, we're trying to pump up some of these more smaller local artists out of College Station, try to break them out. So, playing with guys like Parker Ryan, playing with guys like Jordan Nix, Randy Hoyt, Lucas Sosa, Cole Whittlesey. There's so many great artists in this area, not necessarily Aggies, but guys that just live here. And it's been cool to see those bands grow. And it's been cool for us to be kind of part of, getting them out of town at least a little bit. And we still get to play with some other guys like, like Cottonwood Crows out of Stephenville. They're playing with us at the Twisted J coming up next week up in Stephenville, which we're looking forward to that. We're going to have that one. It's kind of a fun one. It's a combo, a concert, and we're going to do a dummy roping inside.
Oh, I saw that. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, but I saw that and I was like, man, that'd be such a good time.
Yeah. So it's been fun trying to get those guys to kind of hit the road with us a bit, and just get a little extra exposure. Because I mean, especially a guy like Randy Hoyt, and I will say his name several more times, but Randy's just one of those kids. He's got a really interesting and unique sound and a great stage presence. Our crowd's kind of getting used to him a bit because he's very different from what we do. But it's been good to see him get some of his growth, and that's been fun to watch.
Who is one of your favorite people or bands that y'all have opened for?
Man, oh man, I'll tell you what. Probably my favorite guy that we've opened for, because we did like pretty much the whole month of December with him a couple of years ago. Man, I love Kevin Fowler. Oh my God.
That's a Texas legend right there.
Kevin Fowler, we affectionately like to call him Uncle Kev because he is just that guy for us. We go out on the road. He's just pumping us up, bringing Carson out on stage to sing Beer Bait and Ammo. I mean, and their whole band could not be cooler or nicer to us. Like their bass players smoking cigars with me because I smoke cigars, right? Their drummer, John Stacy, who's one of the best drummers in Texas without question, is just one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. I mean, there's so many great guys in that crew, and they did a lot of good for us, trying to pump us up. In fact, probably one of my favorite shows we played on that whole run. We opened for them in Lukenbach, Texas. And it was one of those deals where we're on the inside stage there at Lukenbach. Full room. People are lined up on the windows on the outside. It's completely full. We walk on that stage as the opener, and you could have heard a pin drop in the room. Bunch of old people standing around, kind of arms crossed like this. Who are these kids? What are they gonna do? We go up there, put on a great show, right? And of course, there was, maybe like 15, 20 like high schoolers. So when we got into Tall Boy, they started getting hype, and then during Take Away This Pain, everybody else got excited. So it was like from that point forward, we had them in our hand. And by the end of the night, Carson's being brought back out on stage and they're losing their minds. And I'm just like, those are cool moments. It's always neat as an opener whenever it's not your crowd and you can kind of spin that crowd your direction. And that's happened with him. That's happened with a couple of times we've played with Pat Green. I mean, heck, I think one of my favorite shows we've done recently, opening for Muscadine Bloodline, who is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They're so good and really, really nice guys. They had us open for them at Flores Country Store on the outdoor stage. And it was like Lance Rourke, then it was us, then it was Muscadine. And we go out there, put on a pretty great show. And I remember after the show was over, this was the same day as the At the Station Fest last year. So you had this huge contingent heading to College Station to go watch Zach Bryan and Flatland and all those guys just rock it out. Meanwhile, we're over here in Helotes, and the crowd was very much a Muscadine crowd. A lot of them did not know who we were, but they bought like $2,000 worth of merch that night. And we're like, you guys are great. We want to see y'all more. And I'm like, see, that's a cool deal.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. That is awesome. Back in my house, I have hanging up on my wall. It's I think it's from Billy Bob's, and it's a picture of Kevin Fowler, and it's signed. I think it's signed like Best Wishes or something. I think my neighbor found it at a garage sale like several years ago and bought it and gave it to me as a present. So,
and I will say as a quick aside, Billy Bob's Texas. Whew. So we've had the opportunity to headline at one time. That was so much fun. That is a great building to go play a show at. They treat you like royalty when you walk in the room. I mean, whatever you need. Oh, hey, you want this kind of stage set up with the risers? We got you. Hey, if you need us to move this equipment, let us know. I mean, and then right before we take the stage, we're sitting in the green room and owner comes walking in and says, you guys are already going to put on a great show. I know that. You guys are already going to go out there and crush it, but I just want to let you know it's a special moment. You're getting ready to walk on a stage where very few people get a chance to do so. So live it up and have a blast. And it's just like,
that's cool.
It's a cool moment because it is like so many people have said like, man, what I would give to headline Green Hall, what I would give to headline Billy Bob's Texas. What would I give to headline, Red Rocks, whatever these big, massive places that you want to play. And I've been fortunate enough in my career to say, I have headlined Billy Bob's. I have headlined Green Hall several times, sold it out several times. It's been cool. And it's something that I have to continually remind myself that, hey, things aren't bad, man. Things aren't bad. You've been doing some cool stuff. And, down the line, kids, grandkids, whatever that may look like for me, I'm looking forward to the opportunity for them to be like, Grandpa, tell us about that time you did that. Tell me, tell us about, when you met so-and-so. Tell us about how all that worked. Because we're at a very interesting flex point in Texas country music. It's in Red Dirt and the whole scene. I mean, everything about it is so cool. You're seeing these bands come back from the dead, and you see that this scene is more alive than it ever has been in terms of the actual bands trying to fight to grow and get better. The national exposure could not be higher. So many artists got featured in that Twisters movie in the soundtrack. That's incredible. I mean, Tyler Halverson and Tanner Usry, and all these guys are being featured on those type of soundtracks. That's cool to see. And so it gives us hope because, you can't sit back and worry about what everybody else is doing. You just got to do what you do. and enjoy the fact that the whole scene is getting love. Because as William Clark Green once said on a podcast, one of my favorite lines he ever had, rising tides bring in all the boats. Everybody is getting additional exposure thanks to the big names getting exposure. And that's really cool for a band like us, because all it takes, one song to get featured on TikTok, one song that gets featured in some big Instagram reels, one song that got featured somewhere. And all of a sudden, everybody wants to know who you are and everybody wants to learn about you. And so all it takes is one.
So I'm gonna ask you real quick.
Listen,
Do you think it all started with Yellowstone?
Yellowstone was a big, big part of that, especially with Whiskey Myers, right? And of course, Ryan Bingham. And then the rest of the artists that did end up getting great exposure. Because I mean, I can speak to a really interesting time. So I guess like the week before, Shane Smith and the Saints got featured on that show for the first time. I went and looked at our Spotify numbers. This was because, you know, Spotify numbers are not necessarily like the be all end all, right? Because you have all these different platforms that people listen to your music, but it's a good identifier to kind of see where everybody's at. And we were sitting at about 245,000 monthly listeners that week. Meanwhile, Shane Smith and the Saints were at 250,000. Imagine that for a minute. You have Shane Smith and the Saints, truly one of the great bands of our age, in terms of their stage performance, in terms of their harmonies, in terms of their energy. Everything that they do is outstanding, and they're wonderful human beings, every single one of them. Great guys. Love them. And all of a sudden, they get featured on Yellowstone, and their monthlies doubled in a day. You know, like they go from 250,000 to $500,000 in a day. Which, in my humble opinion, I was like, you know what? Good. Because they deserve that. They're one of those bands that deserve to be a lot bigger than they were at that point. You're talking a band that formed in 2013 and an album that was released in 15 that didn't get real love until 2021, 2022. So it's been cool to see, you know, like once you have an album out, all it takes is one good feature with a song on that record to get everybody else to kind of buy into it. So that's the beauty of having music out. And that's why I think it's so important for you to have full records out. It's cool that a lot of people like to do the singles game, do the EP game. And, we've put out our fair share of singles. We put out an EP, but we're an album band, like we've put out records, and that's, I'm a deep cut guy. I love going through a record and listening to songs that maybe aren't necessarily the hit and being like, yeah, that's one of my favorite songs from this band. Like one of my favorite songs from William Clark Green's It's About Time. Granted, it was a single, but it's not necessarily one of their biggest songs by any means. That's one of my personal favorites from them, right? Or What It Takes to Be Me. I mean, the Rose Queen record is outstanding, but everybody's all about She Likes the Beatles. Yep. It's like there's so many great songs on that record. And that's true of so many records out there. You just got to go digging and, be open to some new music.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
Taylor Sheridan did a phenomenal job with the soundtrack in that. Even the soundtrack in Hell or High Water. I mean, Ray Wiley Hubbard just blaring through. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. And
I mean, I'll speak to that. So Hell or High Water, phenomenal movie. Sleeping on the Blacktop got featured on that one too, very prominently. And you're talking one, the visual of that movie is outstanding. The story of it's outstanding. And if you're listening to this podcast and you have not seen Hell or High Water, go watch that movie. Oh my goodness, it is so good. But I would highly recommend.
So, talking about Taylor Sheridan, he's got a bunch of miniseries he's working on for the post Yellowstone era.
2024.
I tweeted at him a couple times. I should be doing it better, but I've been trying to convince him to do a thing about the Dalton Gang. If you're familiar with them, and Trenton Fletcher's song, "The Ballad of Bill Dalton." But I think that'd be really cool.
So that would be awesome. So I know Taylor is going to be involved with a new movie coming up. I'm not sure if it's releasing next year or the year after. They're kind of in still pre-production for it right now, but it's a It's going to be a full movie. But kind of in the same style as like, Hell or High Water, something like that, those type of movies. But it's going to be set 1800s, and it's going to be basically Empire of the Summer Moon, telling the story of Empire of the Summer Moon. Well, fun fact, I'll go ahead and just kind of tease this out here, but our new record that is coming out later is going to be called Comancheria. And one of the songs on that record is Comancheria. We want to push that song for that movie is kind of the plan right now. Because it's a slow kind of 6/8 ballad. We got Cody Braun from Reckless Kelly, one of the all-time greats, to come in and record fiddle on that song for us. And we have stacked harmonies for days. And I'll be cool, and I'll share a link when we're done. But it's one of those things that we're really excited for that song. We're really excited for the record as a whole. But honestly, with the whole prospect of potentially getting that song in with that movie, because that lines up too well. Because we're singing about these Texans going on to try to fight Comanches, and they're getting their butts whipped because, well, that's just what it was back in the 1840s. You weren't beating the Comanches; they owned the plains.
Oh yeah, I think Sheridan's also working on. It's either TV. I think it's a TV show. Set out in Midland, Odessa area with all the oil.
It's called Landman. I'm excited
I did see this. Yeah, I bet that's gonna be awesome. I wouldn't be shocked to see a few familiar names on that soundtrack.
I will be very surprised if Boomtown doesn't make it.
Right. Oh man, that was honestly one of the very first songs I ever heard from Treaty Oak, because I didn't listen to singles. I went and listened to that record when they first put it out. Back, I guess would have been 2019,
20
something like that.
I want to say that's when
I think it was 21.
I think 21.
It might have been 21.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting down and listening to that record, and I just listened to it front to back, and it was like, oh yeah, Boomtown, that's kind of fun song. And then obviously the rest of the record went on to be what it was for them, and helped get a little momentum going into the next one too.
For sure.
Yep. My dog's being loud back here. What are you doing, Bubs?
What are some of your favorite road trip snacks?
Road trip what?
Road trip snacks.
Snacks. Ooh. So I've actually I've been on a bit of a weight loss kick, so I have not been eating a lot on the road. I'll kick off my morning with a Zen and a coffee. And that's how my day typically goes. And I just will roll along with that. However, I have found that there's a couple of brands of this like bagged popcorn that I'll take, like some of that Skinny Pop or something like that, because it's low in calorie, low in all the other crap. Plus, that's the beauty of popcorn. It's a low calorie snack, but you can eat a ton of it. So that's kind of been my big one. Has been eating a lot more popcorn. Typically wash that down with Diet Dr. Pepper. And that's kind of my road snack. I haven't been eating a lot much, on the road. I've been trying to hang back and take advantage of those opportunities. When like, hey, venue's providing food. Sick. Time to eat.
Oh yeah.
We're big Pringles fans.
Doug Pringle.
Gotta have your Pringles, and then we don't ever get beef jerky because we're boycotting them until they bring the price of beef jerky down.
Good luck with that.
Just call up your local senator real quick and see what we can do with that.
Yeah. That might be our next shirt idea. Something to do with our boycotting beef jerky.
That would be pretty funny. Get behind that.
What's your favorite Pringles flavor?
I'm kind of a standard Pringle guy, man. I don't play around with a lot of flavored things. It's like typically, like, I like Doritos, so I'm like a nacho cheese Dorito guy, just pretty much straight down the middle. If it's Pringles, I'm standard Pringles. The only flavored thing that I loved, they got rid of, and it kills me, and that was Ruffles had their barbecue like ridged Ruffles back in the day. They were just the standard barbecue, not the spicy, none of that. It was just standard barbecue, and it was so good. Then they went away, and we were like,
That reminds
I
me of
remember those.
the Smokehouse Funyuns.
Yeah.
I tore those up.
There you go.
All right. Well, Rob, thanks for coming on, talking to us about the Carson Jeffrey band. We really appreciate it.
Sure thing, man.
You've been awesome, man. This is great.
Absolutely. And yeah, looking forward to a bunch of shows coming up. We've got some exciting things for anybody in the area. Wouldn't mind doing a little plug here just to kind of give everybody a shot at what we're doing. So we'll see about this weekend. So big news for those who are not aware. So Carson and Carly Jeffrey just had their baby today on 10/10.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. So Harper Jean, she's here, and we're very excited. Mom's healthy and happy. Dad seems happy, so we're all good on that. However, that may be impeding on our show this weekend. We're supposed to be playing at the Levitt Pavilion in Arlington, opening for Aaron Watson. We may or may not be on that. So Carson's got an acoustic show coming up on the 13th at Green Hall. We're doing a Twisted J up in Stephenville on the 18th, Yorktown Western Days with Giovanni and the Hired Guns and John Wolfe. That'll be on the 19th. Stillwater on the 25th, which we're really, really pumped for. And then a few more shows kind of going down the rest of the year, but we will be wrapping up kind of towards the end of the year with a couple of shows out in Vegas and Tucson, and then Green Hall to close out the year. So on the 21st, we'll be down there with Randy Hoyt, kind of our the last show at Green Hall, last big show before Christmas hits. So excited for all that. And yeah, getting into it, hopefully with a pretty full schedule next year. So lots to look forward to. New album, new live record, probably a few more singles. So we've got a lot coming. It's just been, we had to get the baby situation sorted this month, and then we're going to get into work.
Priorities.
That's right.
But yeah, no, we'll definitely have to link up with the Stillwater show. I don't know if Tracer is. Are you going?
Unfortunately, well, I say this not unfortunately, but K-State and KU were playing each other in Manhattan that weekend, and I have got given a ticket to go.
That's a big game.
So,
that's a big game.
I got to go back to my alma mater for the Sunflower Showdown. So,
well, and we're I'm sure we can all attest. We're all state college people here, so always beat the University ofs. So, go get them.
We're ag colleges, and yeah,
big ag college people here.
But
yeah, is you ready?
Yeah, I mean, Rob, once again, thanks for coming on. This was a lot of fun, lots of good talks. Yeah, I mean, he plugged it all for y'all. Go out, catch a show, go check out their website, get some merch. If you can't make a show, at least buy some merch.
And if you do buy merch, a couple of designs that I made, there's a Only Star in My Sky shirt. That's my design, and we have a brand new hoodie. That's my design. So if you do buy those, you'll just make me happier. I don't get paid more, but you'll make me happier.
Perfect. There it is. But yeah, I mean, once again, of course, thanks for coming on. Y'all go check out their music, Carson Jeffrey. And yeah, I mean, we got 2 albums in the works right now. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But with that being said, I've had all I can handle. Hope you're happy now. Good night. She's my